Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Kietzman on a non-victory Monday. A very somber mood in this town, unless maybe you're a Kansas Jayhawks fan. They had a big rout of the Missouri Tigers on Sunday afternoon. So there's at least one fan base with a high note and something good happened, but we will dive into, at the start of the show here, the Chiefs and what's next. It's a great time to appreciate what we have had for the last decade in Kansas City, but also a time to take a look at what we have. We're going to dig deep into that in just a couple of moments. Later in the show, we'll talk a little bit about the Netflix takeover of Warner Brother Discovery. I know Pete talked about this maybe about an hour and a half ago. This is a big deal as Paramount is trying to keep Netflix from acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery, and that would be a good thing for America. If Paramount is successful, they're actually offering more money, and why you don't take the better offer in business is beyond me. We'll get into that a little bit today. Also, the Federal Reserve will have its meeting this week. We expect interest rates to be lowered another 1/4 point, but most people are now starting to talk about who the next Fed chairman will be, as Jerome Powell, his duty ends in May, and a lot of people have one name in mind. Somebody you've probably seen. We'll talk about that. Of course, we'll check in with Mark and talk some sports. We got the World Cup draw. We know who's playing in Kansas City. And as I mentioned, we had a big basketball game over the weekend, but we'll start today with the Kansas City Chiefs, who had another pitiful performance, this time on Sunday Night Football at Arrowhead against, to be fair, an outstanding defense, but not that great. 3 turnovers and no takeaways. You're going to lose in this league. Chiefs defense was pretty good last night. They only gave up 268 yards. But they never take the ball away. And they have trouble stopping teams on third down. So even the defense, which is a strength of the team, has issues. So look, the season essentially ended last night. It would be an absolute miracle at this point. There is a statistical probability, I think somebody said, of 10 or 15% chance that the Chiefs make the playoffs. That sounds high to me because I don't think there's a 10 or 15% chance they win every game the rest of the way. I'd take those odds. I'd bet they wouldn't win every game the rest of the way. Would you bet they're going to win the rest of their games? No, they're not, because they're not very good. Let's just call this Chiefs team what it is. It's not a very good team. It is a run-of-the-mill, average NFL team, and maybe it's the same team they were 7 or 8 years ago, and everybody else has passed them. That's possible. We talked earlier this year. I've seen nothing new out of the Chiefs offense the last almost 3 seasons now. I don't know if Andy Reid has lost his fastball. I don't know what's going on with this football team as it pertains to the offensive strategy, not just the play calling, but the play designing. I cannot explain to you or for you why Patrick Mahomes is getting worse and sloppier as he goes forward, but the man has 22 touchdowns and 10 interceptions this year. That's a horrible ratio. If Mahomes got hurt earlier this year and Gardner Minshew had been quarterbacking this team and had 22 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, we would all just have an open dialogue saying, well, Chiefs can't beat anybody with a backup quarterback. Mahomes has played like a backup quarterback this year. He has, and it's getting worse. And I can't explain it. The only thing I can come up with is complacency. You win so frequently, you start to take things for granted, you're not as hungry, you don't work as hard, you don't pay attention to the details, and this is anything but a detailed football team. They're terrible at the details. Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame coach, but he hasn't coached this team very well now, really for a couple of years. They had some miraculous wins last year and were able to get to the Super Bowl with all those one-score games, and the chickens came home to roost this year. It's been the exact opposite of that with the way the games have played out. But I'm not sure what this team does well, and I'm going to include coaching. So we really, really, really should appreciate what we've had for a decade. Don't be somber today. Don't be a pouty pants that your team has some right to be in the playoffs. Nobody has a right to be in the playoffs. You got to go earn it every year, and this team wasn't up for it, and they're still not up for it. Everybody's talking about Travis Kelce. Is he going to retire? What's next with Chris Jones? Is this team getting too old? Or some of the salaries too? And I'm going to take it a step further. I think everything in this organization is on the table except Patrick Mahomes. That's the only thing I know for sure is Mahomes will be the Chiefs quarterback next year. I think every single player and every single coach, including Andy Reid, now is a wild card. I don't have any information. John and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. I've been thinking about it since the game ended last night. I woke up this morning thinking about it. Everybody talking about Travis Kelce. What if Andy Reid retires? How long is Andy Reid going to coach? And how motivated is he? He's going to go one of two ways. He's either going to be super rejuvenated because he's embarrassed this year and retool a whole bunch of things, including the offense, and complete and utter and total motivation and retool the roster and come back with a vengeance next year. Or I will not take off the table that he may say, you know what, this is a hell of a run. It was great. I want to spend time with my grandkids, and I'm done. It wouldn't surprise me. Nothing with this football team right now in any way would surprise me. It's that dramatic. This isn't, okay, they were a wild card team, they got into the playoffs, and they lost their first round playoffs. You'd still look at that and say, okay, well, yeah, they're still the Chiefs. They're still good. They're still a playoff team. It just wasn't their year. But you can't say that about this football team. We're watching this football team play, and they're just not very good. Unfortunately, they've gone backwards or stayed the same, and everybody went around them. The division got harder. They've lost to the Broncos. They've lost to the Chargers. They're not as good as those teams. And the weird part is, I mean, we got Justin Herbert out there with the Chargers, and he now looks better than Mahomes. We never said that before. Bo Nix is playing at a high level. You got all these quarterbacks around the league doing Mahomes-like things better than Mahomes. Sidearm throws, the falling to the ground, all these, risky, chancy plays. Everybody does them now. The Chiefs reinvented the sport. They redefined how you play the position. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid redefined how you play that position. But Mahomes looks like he's about 15th best at it now. And the other guys that are throwing these wild passes and doing crazy things are just better than him. No, he's the quarterback, and he's going to be the quarterback probably another 10 years until he's 40 years old here in Kansas City. But he's clearly going to outplay Andy Reid's tenure as head coach, and I'm just wondering aloud, folks, is this the kind of thing? Think how you feel as a fan watching this team and how bad that makes you feel, or dejected, or whatever the word is you want to use. Imagine how Andy feels. Now, this just happened to Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. They had a wildly disappointing season at Kansas State. They were picked by some to win the Big 12. They went 6-6, and he just walked away and retired. Said, I'm not taking this anymore. He heard from the fans. It got hard. There were some tough losses. He didn't feel loved at K-State, and he just walked. He walked, and where did he immediately go? He went to Fargo for a North Dakota State game to stand on the sideline and watch his former school. Wasn't even at Colin Klein's news conference. Losing hurts. It leads you to do things. And we saw it with a college coach last week, and I wonder the toll this is taking on Andy Reid and how long he wants to coach. He may be that guy. He may be that guy that's just going to coach till he's 80, and that's what he wants to do. Or maybe he's set a goal. I'm going to coach Patrick Mahomes every game of his career. If God willing, he lives long enough to do that. You never know. But I will not be surprised at anything that happens with this team. Nothing. Nothing will surprise me. I think Brett Veach and his staff have their work cut out for them in the offseason. They're going to they will have to make very difficult choices. I think it would be, unless Travis Kelce is coming back and says, I'll just sign a sweetheart contract and play for $2 million just to get another year in, to help the team have more money for the salary cap for other players. Unless he does something like that, you can't pay this guy. You can't pay him to come back and play. I think the whole roster is vulnerable. I think everyone is vulnerable on this team, and this offseason is going to be wild. It's that desperate. It really is. You could see it. You could feel it coming. And those turnovers last night, this is just ugly football. It was just ugly. You can't hardly stand it. One other local sports note. I know Pete touched on this a little bit ago. There is a forum tonight in Leawood at the City Hall. It's a community forum where they're going to discuss, I don't think in a very positive light, they're going to discuss the possibility of the Royals building a ballpark at 119th and Knoll, which runs adjacent to Leawood. I find this interesting, and it'll get a lot of news coverage, I think. And it's going to be residents constantly now going forward complaining that the Royals may do this. Will this affect the Royals? I don't know. We don't know where they are. We thought these teams were going to have to, if they're going to Kansas, they're going to have this wrapped up in December, We've heard Ty Masterson give deadlines and say the star bonds will expire. We're not going to extend it again for you. These decisions need to be made. Well, we got a couple weeks until Christmas. So it has to you would think that it has to happen. Some announcements need to be made in the next couple weeks, but it doesn't feel imminent to me. So I don't know. I just know some people in Leawood are going to gather tonight if you live in Leawood, or if you're just a concerned citizen that works or lives in Overland Park and you want to have your voice heard. It is a community forum, 6:30 to 7:30 tonight at the Leawood City Hall, and I suspect the community forum is just going to be a complete buzzkill on the Royals. Like, no thanks. We don't want the traffic. We don't want the crime. We don't want everything that comes with, 81 baseball games a year. So there you go. If you'd like to join the show, I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you think the Chiefs go next. 913-408-7957. I know we're a news talk station. I know we do a lot of politics here, and we will on this show today. But the Chiefs are probably an overly important part of our community that brings us all together, and we're all kind of feeling the same thing today. So if you have a thought on what's next for the Chiefs, I'd love to hear it. 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled on KCMO.
Hey, it's Vince Gallane's Catch My News Show at 11 o'clock after Kevin Kietzman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Welcome back to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. We're taking your phone calls after a devastating loss by the Chiefs on Sunday night that has us rethinking everything we know about this team that's been so great for a decade. And we start today with Charlie in Bonner Springs. Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
Doing well, Kevin. You know, what's a devastating loss. And I have a couple comments. One is with sports gambling right now, nobody is to be trusted. We can't trust the officials, the players, the coaches, or the league for that matter. We had this problem 20, 30 years ago, you know, in the Pete Rose era, I guess you might say. And now all of a sudden, FanDuel and all these companies are major sponsors of these sports. My second comment is, call every holding penalty and every pass interference penalty, or don't call any of them, and let the players work it out on the field.
Okay. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. That's not exactly what we were looking for in the calls today, but I'll take it, I guess. I don't know what sports betting companies, if you want to call the show and cite something that you saw and think that the games are rigged, I'll listen to that. But I didn't hear him say that. I think he's got a working theory that something's wrong with football because there's gambling. Well, there's been gambling on football since football started. This just in. That's been going on forever. Here is Greg in Overland Park. Good morning, Greg. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Kevin. I look at all these different games. It seems like there's always like 8 or 9 things that have to go wrong for the Chiefs to lose, and that happened last night. But I did want to mention one thing specifically on that vicious hit on Rashee Rice late in the game. I think if that was in college, that would be 100% targeting, and the guy would be ejected. The guy that hit him, by the way, had this huge bubble thing on his helmet. And, the last play of the game, remember, was a pass to Rashee Rice. Pretty easy pass, and he just really couldn't bring it in. And I wonder if he was playing with a concussion, and if I wouldn't be surprised if he's put on concussion protocol. Wouldn't you say that if that was in college, that would have been a targeting
Probably.
call?
Yeah, probably. I see where you're going with that. And the NFL usually does a pretty good job protecting players, but I think they just decided it was just a really hard hit, a hard legal hit.
It was vicious. And the guy, his arm kind of flailed afterwards, and he immediately got up like, hey, I want to show the team I'm okay, but I don't think he was okay.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, he's hearing footsteps as he's playing. Yes, you get rattled.
Exactly.
You can get rattled in a game for sure. That absolutely could be the case.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, buddy.
Anyway,
Appreciate
I think
it.
we have a little margin for error. We can still make it, but it's unlikely.
We're not even going to entertain that discussion here. They have to win a game first. I mean, one
they
game.
got to win a game.
One, just
very
one.
Unlikely, but maybe. Anyway, thanks a lot.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. I'm cooking them. I think the Chiefs are cooked. I don't think there's any way they're making the playoffs. Here's Chip in Shawnee. Hi, Chip. What's up?
Kevin, I think this whole season got off on the wrong foot with that game in South America. I think if the Chiefs had won that game, this season would look totally different. But they're playing, halfway around the world. They weren't up for it. They weren't psyched for it. I think they were concerned about their safety. Their mind wasn't on football. And, it's no excuses. Good teams can overcome those things. But, man, dropping that first game just set the tone, and it's been a long slog since. That's my view.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer that one game makes a season. Kansas State fans are saying the same thing. They went to Ireland and played to start the year and lost to Iowa State, and we saw what happened. Their season spiraled out of control. Their coach retired or resigned or whatever the heck happened. Kansas State and the Chiefs had very, very, very similar years this year, which is why, a lot of people thought that this was wild last week, what happened in Manhattan, okay? A retiring coach, and then you bring a new guy in, and it all happens in like 48 hours. I'm telling you, anything is possible with the Chiefs going forward. I don't know what that means exactly or what that looks like, if they're going to trade the older players, if they're going to, say goodbye to Chris Jones and Travis Kelce and get rid of those salaries. Nothing going forward will surprise me with the Chiefs. They need an overhaul. They don't need like one player or one position. They need an overhaul. This team needs fixed.
I would agree with that. I don't think there's very much on the table. There's not very much that's not on the table. I agree with you.
All right, buddy. Appreciate the call, man. Thank you very much. We now go to Fred in Overland Park. Hi, Fred.
How you doing?
Good, buddy.
Yeah, I put this on the coaching staff because I've said for the last 2 weeks, if I'm the Chiefs coaching staff, I have the receivers and tight ends on the practice field, no defense, just throw after throw after throw, run the route, run the route, run the route. They have to catch the damn ball or it's game over. It's probably game over now, but they need to be there right now, just working on catching the ball. These guys are dropping balls that they've caught for years. They got to fix that or they're not going anywhere.
Well, they're not going anywhere this year. You're right. They are not – the receiving core is not good, but you know what? The quarterback isn't very good either. Can we not say – I mean, everybody's on Travis Kelce for the one that he didn't catch. That's a horrible throw. It was a horrible throw. So, look, it takes two to tango. You got to have a quarterback put it in the right spot. If you put it in the right spot frequently enough, almost every pass at this level is going to be caught. But he doesn't do that. He had 10 straight incompletions in this game at one point. 10 straight incompletions. Patrick Mahomes. So that's not just bad receivers, okay? That's bad quarterback play. And there's plenty of bad quarterback play. Here is Jet in Platte City. Hi, Jet. What's up?
Hi, how you doing? I want your opinion on, because I do not think that the 4th and 2 play call on our own 30 was a good call with the season on the line, and I wanted to know what you thought about that.
Well,
that really got me riled up.
What you don't like about it is even if you get the first down, it doesn't mean you're going to score any points on the drive. You still got 30 yards to go before you're even in a field goal range or something like that. Here's why I didn't hate it as much as most people. It just shows you what Andy Reid thinks of his team. He doesn't think his team's very good either. The Chiefs used to be the team. You remember like 10 years ago, the Ravens would come to town and they'd do fake punts and they'd go for 4th downs and they take all these chances. They say, yeah, we're playing against the Chiefs. They're better than us. We have to take all these chances. Now the Chiefs are that team. They play other teams and have to take all the chances because the Chiefs aren't good enough. That's just what they've become, and that's what he was doing. He was basically saying, my team isn't very good. We got to make something happen.
Yeah, that's fair. And I know he goes for him. And you when you go for him, you got to go for him. But, man, the season on the line,
it was
I didn't
rough.
like it.
I know. I thought he was crazy. You know, I think most people thought, they're going to try to draw him off sides or something like that. No, it was legit. Here is Trevor in Kansas City. Hi, Trevor. How are you?
How are you doing today?
Great.
Yeah, well, you guys are talking about the gambling stuff. I think the Hunt family's just mad they didn't get taxpayers for 40 years to pay for their stadiums, so they're ready to move on, and this season's a wash for them. And I think people know more about the Chiefs than they do their own political systems. So maybe we should focus on our politics and not the Chiefs, who suck because they didn't get our tax dollars for 40 years.
Okay, appreciate it. There's a bold one. They want more money. Of course the Chiefs want more money, and they don't care where they get it. They don't care if it's Missouri or Kansas or Jackson County or Wyandotte County or wherever they are. They all want their money. It's called professional sports. All right, Uncanceled continues. We come back. We're going to talk a little bit about this Netflix trying to acquire Time Warner, Warner Brothers Discovery. This is a big story. I'll tell you why next.
from Leawood to Liberty. It's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
So I wonder how Macy and Joe Roberts will remember their wedding day. They got married before the Chiefs game last night at Arrowhead Stadium. This is not unusual. We see this happen quite a bit. But, man, getting married before the game that ended the era? Ooh, not good.
Not a good foreshadowing.
Yeah, I was going to say, what do we make of this marriage, Mark?
Couple years, 5 nice, strong years ahead.
Prairie Village story. How about this? In Prairie Village, a woman named Tina Skelton has a pet named Oakley that is a 2-pound spider monkey. She went to the city council meeting in Prairie Village with her spider monkey in a stroller and spoke before the council and says she will be devastated, her entire family will, as will Oakley, if the city of Prairie Village passes a law to ban monkeys as pets. I did not know this, but apparently most municipalities around Kansas City have a law on the books it's illegal to have a monkey. I didn't know that. This woman has one, and she's had this monkey for a while, and it sounds like they're going to pass this through the council and ban monkeys in Prairie Village. But I've got a better idea for you, Prairie Village. Grandfather, this is the only monkey apparently in Prairie Village. Grandfather this monkey in. Start your rule today. Nobody can get a new monkey. Let the monkey live its life. They're not hurting anybody. The monkey hasn't done anything wrong. Doesn't need to be relocated. The woman loves her pet. She keeps it on a leash if he's out of the house. Just grandfather this. Allow this monkey to stay, all right, and then pass your monkey business rules in Prairie Village. I say that strongly. Let that monkey stay. I would never have a monkey. I would not be good with a monkey, and I don't really even like them. I guess maybe going and seeing them in a zoo is fine, but that's not my thing. I just want to see some video of her at the city council meeting because I've not seen pictures or anything. I want to see a monkey in a stroller at the city council meeting. That's just a visual I cannot get out of my head. Amazing. So Netflix CEO is Ted Sarandis. Trump called him over the weekend, quote, a fantastic man. Sarandis is brokering a deal to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, which is a mega conglomerate. It involves HBO Max, CNN, Discovery Networks, all the Warner Brothers films that have been made over the history of time, and all of the copyrights that go along with all the characters and things that Warner Brothers has. Netflix obviously is a big, rich company, and they've offered $27.75 a share, and Warner Brothers Discovery is accepting that offer, despite the fact Paramount, David Ellison of Paramount, offered $30 a share. Well, they say this thing's going to take at least 12 months to close if it's Netflix, and Trump is saying it could be a problem even getting it passed because it's almost a monopoly. It's like it's owning too much of the market share. So that's a bit of an issue, I guess. And I don't know if that applies to Paramount. If Paramount, they're going to try a hostile takeover, they're offering $30 a share. You would think the shareholders would rather have $30 a share than $27.75. So this is not my area of expertise, like hostile takeovers and whatnot, but that seems like a pretty fundamental difference. I think it comes out to like $12 or more billion in the total bid for this company. This is a big deal because all of Obama's people are on the board of Netflix. Like it's just loaded with Obamaville. And the Obamas have a contract. These people that are on the boards of Netflix gave Barack and Michelle Obama, what they get, $100 million, I think, $100 million contract to produce content over the years, of which I don't know what they've produced or watched, or if it's just a flat-out grift from the people on the board like Susan Rice. But I know this, if you thought, and we're seeing CNN get a little better, we've seen little baby steps toward fair play, reporting on stories. They've given Scott Jennings, is that his name? Scott Jennings. They've given him a huge platform, and he's getting really famous for being the conservative on CNN. And his clips are shared and viewed millions of times. So there does seem to be a little fairness within this company now. Not all the way, but a little bit. I think Netflix will just take it right back where it was. I think Netflix will be so far left with their news organization if they own this company that it could be a real problem. For Ellison's part, with Paramount Plus, they own Paramount Studios and CBS. CBS is going through a transition right now where they're basically gutting their news division and starting over with people from the top. David Ellison, the CEO of Paramount, Skydance is the name of the company now, right from the top saying, you will report the news. We want facts. We want it right. You will not take a bias into any of these stories. So we're seeing that. I don't know that Ellison's some, MAGA world guy or anything like that, but he wants CBS News to be respected again. He wants to clean up 60 Minutes, not just constantly do hit pieces on Republicans. Let's go do some investigative journalism. Let's get good stories on 60 Minutes. He has the right idea for Skydance and for CBS News. If he were able to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, I don't know how, if Trump's saying this is going to be, problematic for Netflix to do it, I don't know why. I mean, Paramount would have a huge market share too. Wouldn't they run into the same regulatory problems if that's where it goes? This is some story, but it matters. Controlling those media organizations, it matters. Here's Jonathan in Kansas City. He's got some thoughts on this. Hi, Jonathan. How are you today?
Yeah, this is like a lot of big mergers. It's just more of a reflection of where our economy is going. And I think, you can put a lot of culprits behind the inflation, certainly. But I think one thing that nobody has ever talked about, and maybe nobody wants to talk about, that I think maybe contributes a fair amount to this inflation problem or makes it worse is in so many industries now, you have so few companies that produce the product or service, and it's getting worse because they keep buying each other out. And when you don't have a lot of choices, it's like they don't have to be competitive on pricing. And, people have likened Trump to Teddy Roosevelt. I think, a lot of people have done that. I think if he really wanted to follow in his footsteps, he would do what Teddy did. Listen, we can't have these companies that are too big. We got to break them up. And that's going to be good for the economy, and it's going to be good for the consumer because maybe we'll get some competition, we'll get better products, and maybe the prices will get more competitive too.
Man, I respect your opinion. You sound like you know what you're talking about. I don't know enough on these mergers and what's too big.
I guess it's just basic economics. If you have less players, then they don't have to be competitive when they're pricing the product.
I understand, but as a general rule, I'd rather the government not be involved in private business as much as possible.
Yeah,
but you're making an excellent point. You make an excellent point.
But then you end up in the late 1800s where, they had two oil companies. And listen, I don't think that was a great economy. Like it was bad for a lot of people. They called it the Gilded Age. It was good for a few people, like the oil tycoons. But it wasn't great, for a lot of people out there, and we'd have economic panics all the time. I don't think that was great.
Yeah, good call, buddy. A lot of food for thought there. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
appreciate it. No, you make some excellent points. I just, generally speaking, don't like government being involved, but it sounds like they are anyway. Trump's already commenting on the thing, saying, "Well, I don't know if it's going to pass through regulation muster." They're saying it's going to take 12 to 18 months to get the deal done. Why? Why? If you've accepted the offer, how does that work? What does that look like? Is that just government, bloated government regulation slowing something down? I don't know. I know there's a big focus this week on the Federal Reserve. We think the interest rates are going to go down a quarter point. Jonathan there was talking about inflation. They're forecasting 3% inflation next year in 2026. The Trump administration runs the risk, if they get Kevin Hassett in, who is his senior advisor on economics right now, it looks like he's probably the front runner to replace Jerome Powell as the Fed chair. If he gets in there, Hassett's an absolute interest rate cutter guy. They want to bring it down. Trump wants to bring him down. He wants the housing market to pop. He wants people to be able to get cheap money so they can go buy houses. And when, especially like new home building, when new home building booms, the entire country hums. Because so many businesses are related to building a house that, it's the rising waters, the high tide, baby. Let's go get it. And that's what Trump wants. He's risking inflation in an election year by doing this, and I think they will do it. I think Kevin Hassett's probably going to be his guy. If you don't know who Kevin Hassett is, he's the guy that does all the interviews talking about the economy and stuff, who's always smiling. Like he'll tell you bad news with a smile on his face. He's that really likable, you'd love this guy to be your next door neighbor kind of guy, easy to get along with. He might be the next Fed chair, and they're just going to have to balance how much they can bring interest rates down and watch inflation at the same time. Because inflation, if they get 3.5% inflation by next summer because of lowering interest rates, that's going to be one tough midterm. It's going to be reported over and over and over that the economy's not doing well, that inflation's out of control. You can no longer blame Biden. There does come a point where you can't blame Biden. Okay? Now, the caller was making a point that we're getting gouged, that some of these companies are just like, we're so big we don't need to compete. We'll charge whatever we want. I believe there's a lot of that going on, and I think COVID changed the game. I think during COVID, we saw a lot of things spike and just never come back. Like, why? Why would you lower your prices? Everybody raised prices. Everybody made more profits. We've seen what the stock market's done. From the initial reaction, I think the Dow Jones dropped down to like 18,000 or something, right? In COVID. After COVID happened, the economy just bottomed out. And the sky was falling in. I think it got down to 18 or 19,000. It's 48,000 now, or getting close to 48,000. I mean, it's unbelievable what the stock markets have done because these companies are making record profits. And I do think a lot of that is they just didn't reset. They're like, okay, well, we established these prices and people still bought it and we're making record prices. We're not bringing anything down. So, yeah, there's probably a lack of competition out there in the marketplace, and that is unfortunate, and that is something we all feel. 913-408-7957 if you'd like to join the discussion. When we come back, Mark's going to get a chance to gloat a little bit. The Kansas Jayhawks rolled Mizzou yesterday, and some other fun topics on KCMO.
From Lenexa to Lee Summit, it's Kevin Kietzman. Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
The New York Times has filed a lawsuit against the Pentagon. And this is just so stupid. So at the Pentagon, they changed the rules for covering stories there. If your beat in the media is Department of Defense at the Pentagon, they no longer allow you to roam freely anywhere you want to go in the Pentagon. They have a required work area, and you must either be escorted or have the proper identification to go anywhere else other than the media place. Well, this changed, and the New York Times now is filing a lawsuit. Mark, you've been out to Arrowhead. You've covered many games. Let's use the Chiefs here, not the Pentagon. Where, if you went out to the Chiefs facility today, where could you go unescorted?
To the gate?
Like nowhere. You can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like they have a holding room, a media room out there at Arrowhead that has an exterior door entrance that if you're in the media, you got a key to the door and you get in there, but then it's locked to the rest of the facility. They come and get you when the locker room's open or when you go to practice, they escort you. They've been doing this in sports forever. And the New York Times doesn't think that we should have that at the Pentagon? I mean, if sports teams do it, shouldn't the Pentagon be the one place where reporters aren't roaming around freely, just walking the hallways, trying to find a story? It seems like of all the government institutions, that's the one where you can't walk around freely.
Yeah, there should be more security about that.
Yes. And so the Trump administration changed things, and the New York Times is suing them because, of course, they are. Boy, I hate to drag you in on this story, Mark. This is a bummer. This is a guy named Thomas Plamberger in Austria has been convicted. He's been charged with manslaughter. He and his girlfriend went hiking on Austria's tallest summit, and he left her 150 feet from the top, he says, to go get help because they were out of supplies. He's an experienced hiker, an expert-level hiker, mountaineer, they call him. But now they believe that he left her on purpose to die. And they've charged him with manslaughter, and he's defending it. There's no way to know. They've got this stuff on webcam. They can see him coming down, and he did go get help. He eventually called for authorities, and when they got there, she was dead. But he had, like, thermal blankets and didn't leave them with her. He left with them, which is a pretty bad tell. Can you imagine, if this is true, if that's really what he did, can you imagine a more heinous crime than that?
Yeah, that's messed up.
Wow.
That's like psychological warfare as well as physical.
Absolutely brutal. That's a shame. All right, the World Cup is coming to Kansas City June 16th. We got Argentina and Algeria on the 20th, Ecuador and Curacao. 25th, Tunisia and Netherlands. 27th, Algeria and Australia. Mark Van Sickle, how many of those countries can you find on a map?
Oh, that's a good question. I could find Argentina.
You sure?
Yep. I do remember taking South American geography.
Argentina's big, right?
Argentina's pretty big.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think I could find Argentina. I know I can find Australia. That's it.
Yep. And
I can't pick out the Netherlands.
I could do Netherlands.
You can?
Yeah. It's right in between Germany and England.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's hard to describe, but yeah, I could find it.
All right. So you think 3.
I think I could do 3.
All right. Then what happens? July 3rd and July 11th, we get matches those days, too. This will be teams that win in advance.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what group they'll be coming from, or do we?
We do. For the group of 32 or round of 32 game, we'll get the winner of Group K and then the third place of Group D.
Okay.
Which could be the United States. They're in Group D.
Yeah, but we don't want them third.
No, we don't want them third, but
right.
It is possible.
If you're third, do you move on?
It's a new thing this year because they expanded. Usually it's just the top 2 from each group.
Yeah, that's what I said. So three out of 4 advance?
In just a couple of the groups, yeah. They're trying to set it up for the U.S. so they don't fail.
You know what? I'm watching the draw, and I'm like, this thing's rigged.
Yeah.
The draw was rigged. I mean, the United States got the greatest draw ever, and we don't deserve it. We're not good at soccer.
Yeah.
But didn't it almost feel like it was rigged?
Oh, yeah. The way they were doing it, and they had Tom Brady out there, it's rigged.
Of course it is. Way to go, FIFA. The Kansas Jayhawks got Darren Peterson back yesterday. He scored 17 points in 23 minutes, and they pounded Missouri by 20 points. That was quite a second-half performance. What say you about the Jayhawks with Darren Peterson in uniform?
I think their ceiling is very high.
I do, too.
I think that they could – the Big 12 is so good, but they at least have a chance to win the Big 12. And if they have a chance to win the Big 12, they have a chance to go to the Final Four.
watching the game, it's not just his ability to score, it's the attention he draws and how open his teammates get because of it.
And they got better without him.
Yeah.
In that 7-game stretch.
Probably true. Probably true. Yeah, that was a really nice performance by the Kansas Jayhawks. My wife did the double dip. Which games did you go to? Both games yesterday? What'd you do, Mark?
I watched the KU game at home, and I went to the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. My wife went to both. She had quite a day, and she has no voice today.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
She has no voice. Those Sunday night games, I can't do it. That's too late.
Yeah.
That's just too late.
It's a fun day, though.
Getting up. All right, they did a survey. They asked people, sports fans, how much they spend per year on sports. This could be tickets. It could be a gambling app. It could be throwing a party at your house, bringing people over, whatever. What is the number one state for most spent per person in the United States?
I would have to guess New York.
No. South Carolina.
South Carolina?
The average South Carolinian, am I saying that right, spends about $1,450 a year on sports. So I started thinking about it. All the top 5 are like SEC. They're all in the South.
Oh, yeah.
So I think there's just a different level of depravity there by the sports fans in the South.
Yeah, and a lot of tailgating.
A lot of tailgating, a lot of things like that going on. The list didn't go far enough. It didn't do all 50 states, so I can't tell you about Kansas and Missouri. I apologize on that. But that seems low. Now, we're a sports family. I know we spend more than that in a year. Way more than that in a year on sports. The Vince Show's coming up next. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled.